The newspapers are still raking through the chaos of Thursday's election, and there's a really interesting piece in the Telegraph today claiming that Nigel Farage triumphed because the Conservatives and Labour lied, or rather, they failed to tell the truth in 2024. But I think it's got more to do with the media dynamics that have contributed to Reform UK's ascendance. The political earthquake we witnessed on Thursday was not so much a sudden rupture as it was the inevitable crack in a dam long under pressure. And according to the Telegraph, Farage's triumph is not a miracle, it's a vacuum created by the political establishment's refusal to level with the public about the depth of our economic malaise, the cost of our public services, the sacrifices required in the years ahead. Both Labour and the Conservatives ran campaigns so devoid of intellectual honesty they bordered on condescension, and into that void stepped a man made for the microphone, Nigel Farage. But to start with the simple truth, the media rewards spectacle. And Reform UK, despite its incoherent arithmetic, has something invaluable in the age of 24-hour spin. It provides headlines, drama, conflict, certainty. It is not a party so much as a broadcast operation in perpetual campaign mode. And Farage's GB News soapbox grants him daily access to an audience without interruption, where he both hosts and headlines. It's propaganda disguised as punditry, and crucially, it operates in a way that no leader of Labour or the Conservatives currently dares to mimic. Starmer looks perpetually haunted by the ghost of a focus group, and Badenoch's charisma flickers but seldom catches flame, because she doesn't put in the work, I suggest, but maybe she doesn't have the capacity. So the media, hungry for noise and novelty, amplifies reform, not because of a conspiracy, but because Farage is a gift to editors, a headline in human form. And the backdrop to this performance is electoral decay. In 2024, just 59% of the British electorate turned out. Starmer won fewer votes than Jeremy Corbyn managed in either of his defeats, and the Tories recorded their worst showing since they became a mass party. Why? Because the Tories had already lurched towards the right, leaving a huge swathe of the electorate politically homeless. We are hurtling back to 1918 era levels of turnout. Disillusion is not abstract, it's mathematical. And Labour and the Conservatives captured just 57% of the vote combined. And why? Because neither had the courage to describe the cliff edge we're approaching. That's what the Telegraph suggests. I think it's because neither was interesting. Starmer offered magical growth, Sunak dangled tax cuts he couldn't fund, and the electorate, often accused of being apathetic, is in fact smarter than that. But the magical growth and the tax cuts, they're both shallow, and then you get Farage coming on. I'm not shallow. From that point of view, he's right. Farage can entertain with absolutely zero information. He is magnetic in front of the camera in a way that Starmer and Sunak really are not. Starmer, when released, can be very good with facts and can be very persuasive in a courtroom. And that in itself is interesting, but he's pulled away from that environment and pushed behind the dispatch box and effectively told to follow a script. And Rishi Sunak, very interestingly, I thought, once he became leader of the opposition, was suddenly released, and we saw a fire that we hadn't seen since he was delivering the budget speeches as the Chancellor. As Prime Minister, he was useless. The electorate can see through all that. They recognise a fraud when they hear one. And Farage is not a saviour. Reform UK's programme reads like a wish list written by a teenager with a calculator and a grudge. It offers tax cuts for all, increased spending across the board, and a fantasy £50 billion savings that no economist believes exists. Reform UK is not ready to govern. It's not a programme, it's a protest. But, and this is crucial, People don't vote for programme points. They vote for someone who looks like they mean it. And when we hear again and again politicians saying, "Oh, you don't have a real message. What are your policies?" No one cares about the policies, as Farage demonstrates rather brilliantly. No one cares about the policies. It's the personalities that deliver those policy statements that matter. Maybe once people are sucked into the personality, they then might start looking at the policy behind it. Farage speaks plainly, relentlessly, and often with calculated venom. He makes people feel heard, even when he has nothing sensible to say. That's the art of populism, but it's also the art of oratory. It's emotional resonance over policy. It's about words over coherence. And the real blame lies with the establishment parties. They lied, not necessarily in facts, but certainly in tone. They lied by omission. They neither dared to admit the fiscal reality, neither had the capacity or the brilliance to put forward their own personalities. We face a triple bind of rising debt costs, crumbling services, and a world that's becoming more dangerous, not less dangerous. And Labour's growth rhetoric is fantasy without a serious industrial strategy. The Tories' tax cut flirtations are nonsense unless they propose slashing adult social care, policing and the courts, none of which their voters would tolerate in defence. Talk of 2.5% of GDP by 2028 is risible in the face of Russian aggression. Dieter Helm puts it that the public finances will not be sustained because they cannot be sustained. Yet nobody in the mainstream benches wants to talk about that plainly. The silence has been Farage's loudest ally. And so Farage won because the main parties failed. They failed to inspire, to explain, and above all to tell the truth or to be interesting. Media bias is not so much ideological as structural. The drama-hungry press will always favour the loudest actor on the stage, and unless Starmer or Badenoch learns to communicate with conviction and to confront hard truths with courage and entertainment, Farage will continue to fill that vacuum, charismatically, dangerously, and for now effectively. The answer to Farage is not to mimic him, not to follow his policies, but to outmatch him in performance, in clarity and honesty. That, not slogans or spreadsheets, is how you regain public trust.